Hi everyone, welcome to our standardized training for centers. So, in the next hour, I will be discussing how to create a standardized recipe based on common menu items for centers. My name is Rena Larita, and I am the center coordinator here. I believe I've met, if not most of you, all of you. So, before we begin, please make sure you printed out all your materials that I have emailed you, and also have your food buying guide account up and your food portion chart next to you because I will be referring to all of these throughout the training. Thank you for joining this training segment and I hope you enjoy listening. So, the following topics are what I will be discussing throughout the training video. What is a standardized recipe? When is a standardized recipe required? I'll be discussing about the food buying guide. Again, please have this up and ready. Create an account. If not, you can always go under the guest user. Menu production and measurements. Calculations. Sample of standardized recipe, and the conclusion. So what is a standardized recipe? According to the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, a standardized recipe is a complete specific set of written instructions for cooks to produce consistent high-quality recipes every time. When is it required and how often? All child care centers that is part of the Child and Adult Care Food Program, CACFP, are required to have standardized recipes on files for any food items made from scratch that requires more than one ingredient. So for example, it can be as simple as a peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you serve to your daycare children, or it can be a beef stew or soup. Both requires a standardized recipe because they both require more than one ingredient. It's important to know that standardized recipes are used every day in child nutrition operations as a guide to preparing foods served to children. They are used to ensure the correct portion sizes are being served and that the food items served to the children are credible in the CACFP. Please remember when you do create a standardized recipe for a food item in your menu, remember that it only has to be created once. So we do highly suggest that you keep a separate file or folder that's labeled standardized recipes. So for example, every Thursday you go ahead and make your macaroni and cheese. You don't have to create a recipe every Thursday for that mac and cheese. You only have to create it once. Just go ahead and put in your folder that you have. That way we know that there is one available. As long as you continue making the mac and cheese, if it's going to be for the whole year, you're going to keep that standardized recipe there, okay? So here's a menu for lunch that I have created for a daycare center. I want to go ahead and start making some cheese quesadillas for the kids. We have the meat alternate, which is the cheddar cheese. We have the grain, which is the whole wheat Guerrero tortilla. We have the vegetable component, which is the pinto beans, the fruit component, which is the applesauce, and the 1% milk. So based on this menu, does this menu require a standardized recipe? Yes, it does. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the food buying guide. Again, before I do click on this link, go ahead and have it up and ready. If you do have an account, please log into your account already. If not, you're more than welcome to come in as a guest user. For the purpose of this training, I am going to log in as a guest user. Let's go ahead and click on that. So here is the food buying guide for child nutrition programs. We're going to go ahead and click on the web-based interactive food buying guide. Now remember that my menu is cheese quesadillas. So I want to go ahead and search a food item, search for the cheese. I will be using cheddar cheese, which is already on here. Click enter. And all right. Just so I know that 1 pound of it was equivalent to about 4 cups of shredded cheese. All right. Please remember that. Also, please check your handout, the quesadillas, because I do have it there printed out for you, so we can go ahead and take a look at it that way. What I showed you in the food buying guide, just please remember that 1 pound is also equivalent to 4 cups of shredded cheese. Okay, you can go ahead and look at the menu production records on your Minute Menu CX. For the purpose of the lunch that I did create, I did base it on 30 3 to 5-year-old kids that I have in my center. And I did plug everything here: cheddar cheese, applesauce, pinto beans, and whole grain flour tortilla, which is the Mission Whole Wheat. And based on 30 kids that I have there, about half a serving, which is considered half a slice. So I would need about 15 tortillas. 15 times 2 is going to be half slices, 30 half slices tortillas. But obviously we know for quesadillas, we don't give everyone half of a tortilla. So I'm going to go ahead and give about 30 tortillas for the kids. We know that we're going to give them a whole quesadilla. And for the purpose of cheddar cheese, I need to purchase about 2.82 pounds of cheddar cheese, or have that ready based on 30 3 to 5-year-old children that I estimate having as my attendance. Now, we all do know that you don't purchase 2.82 pounds at the grocery store, so let's go ahead and round it up. I'm probably going to buy about 3 pounds of cheddar cheese, and that's what I'm going to put on my recipe, 3 pounds. Again, the menu production records is a tool so you can see how much you need to purchase as well. That's the point of having menu production records. All right. So for measurements, always remember that 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces, and 1 cup is also equivalent to 8 ounces. Let's just say your center again has 30 3 to 5-year-old children, and I told you that I purchased about 3 pounds of shredded cheese. Obviously, I can't purchase 2.82 pounds, so that's equivalent to like about 3 bags of shredded cheese, the Kraft one. And I'm going to use about 30 whole grain Guerrero tortillas, because obviously I want to give each child a whole quesadilla, not half of it. So based on that, so since I purchased 3 pounds, and again, 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces, we're going to go ahead and multiply 3 pounds times 16. That's what I did here. And it's going to equal to 48 ounces. And how many children do I have at the daycare center? I have about 30 kids divided by 30. So based on this calculation, it's about 1.6 ounces of meat or meat alternate portion based on my standardized recipe, and based on the stuff that I purchased. Okay. Now, also know that since I'm going to go ahead and use 30 whole wheat Guerrero tortillas, I divided by 30. It's going to be 1 whole tortilla per child, or 1 slice portion per child. And that's what I'm going to go ahead and plug into the standardized recipe form, which will be on the next slide. So based on the menu, your portion sizes meets the CACP meal pattern requirements. And I'm going to go ahead and put it meets for 1.6 ounces of meat alternate per child, and 1 whole wheat Guerrero tortilla per child. This is the standardized recipe form that I gave you guys beginning of the year that I went ahead and filled out. So I did put my recipe name here, cheese quesadilla. It is a main dish, recipe number 1234. I did about 3 pounds, like I told you, of shredded cheese, a whole week, about 30 tortillas. And obviously you're going to use oil to go ahead and saute it. And obviously that's NA not applicable because it's just for flipping over the tortillas. Over here, down here, as I did the calculations again, just remember cheddar cheese, 1 pound is equivalent to 4 cups. So 3 times 4 is going to be 12 cups that I'm going to go ahead and, that's the measure of it. You know, since I purchased 3 pounds, 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces times 16, again, equals 48 ounces. I divide it by the number of servings, which is 30 servings. It's going to be equal to 1.6 ounces of meat or meat alternate, and 30 tortillas, again, since I have 30 children, for 30 servings, is going to become 1 serving or slice per child. After that, I go ahead and enter it. So the meat, based on the serving size, is about 1.6 ounces. The grains is about 1 slice. Obviously, for cheddar quesadilla, there's no fruits or vegetables in it. Those are separate categories, so I went ahead and put NA for not applicable. Same goes for the serving size and yield. So this recipe that I have created yields 30 servings with a meat or meal alternate minimum of 1.6 ounces. And again, it yields 30 servings. So that is how you create the cheese quesadilla standardized recipe. It's fairly simple. Once you keep trying the calculations, you'll get used to it. So the following slide, I'm going to go ahead and make beef chuck roast. So let's go back to the food buying guide. You can also look in your handout. I did have you print out a handout for the beef chuck roast. All right, so we're back here to the food buying guide. Go back. I'm going to go ahead and write beef chuck roast. So for the purpose of this, I will go ahead and choose the beef chuck roast that I usually purchase. It's a roll without the bone. That's the kind that I purchased. So let's go ahead and click on that. So according to this, 1 pound is equivalent to 0.41 pounds cooked. So if you notice that 1 pound cooked, it actually is less, right? When you cook whenever you cook like hamburger, beef, or anything, whenever you fry it or saute it or cook it or bake it or whatnot, it always makes less than what it's when you purchase it raw, obviously. So again, for this, 1 pound is equivalent to 0.41 pound cooked, trim, sliced lean meat. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to our slide. This is exactly what I just showed you on the food buying guide, that again, 1 pound is equivalent to 0.41 pound cooked. Always remember that, okay? Again, remember, 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces. 1 cup is equivalent to 8 ounces. Okay, now let's go ahead and look up our lunch. So I did base this now. I changed it to 32 children. The chuck roast that I did purchase, it says I need about 3 pounds of chuck roast. But remember, when 3 pounds cooked, it's actually lower. So I usually double that. And then I'm going to make brown rice, corn, baked potato, etc. Okay. Here are my calculations for the chuck roast. So since I decided to purchase 8 pounds, because I know that it's going to be, there might be some leftovers or some second servings, I times it by 16 ounces per pound is equivalent to 128 ounces. You times that by, based on 128 ounces, when you cook it, you times it, what does it say, 0.41 when it's cooked. So I times it by 0.41 is equivalent to 52.48 divided by how many kids is 32, which equals 1.64 ounces. Usually if you don't want to put 1.64 ounces, we do recommend you can always round down. So 1.64 ounces or 1.5, which is a minimum meat or meat alternate portion. So based on the menu of your portion sizes meets the CACP meal pattern requirements, 1.5 ounce meat or meat alternate per child. All right, here's my standardized recipe forms for the roast beef. It's a roast beef. It's a main dish. My recipe number is 003. I have the large onions chopped 3 pounds. Just know that the large onions, these 3 pounds of large onions, which is about 3, it's more for taste. Don't use it as a vegetable component because it doesn't even need it. For the purpose of this, we're looking at the meat or meat alternate. So the beef chuck roast boneless, I said I purchased about 8 pounds. Remember, when I purchased 8 pounds, it's less than half of it, so it gets a little bit less than 4 pounds. So I chose 8. And if I look at my chuck roast, again, you should know that 1 pound is equivalent yields 0.41 cooked. That's the reason why I purchased 8 pounds, so I know that it should be enough for the kids. So 8 pounds times 16 ounces. Again, 1 pound is equivalent to 16 ounces. That's why 16 ounces was plugged in here. It equals to 128 ounces times however much it actually yields when it's cooked, 0.41 cooked, 52.8 divided by 32 equals 1.64. And you can just also round it down to 1.5 meat or meat alternate. So based on this recipe that I have for 32 children, that's 3 to 5 years old, meat or meat alternates yields 1.5 ounces. Okay? So that's how you do it here. So this concludes our standardized training. If you do have any questions or concerns, feel free to give me a call. We are open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. You can also email me and ask me any questions. My number is listed there, 213-380-3850 and extension 202. Thank you for listening to the standardized training. Last but not least, here are some USDA standardized recipes. I'll go ahead and click on the link for your references. Go and do main dishes, anything that you want to take a look at. There's a bunch of them here. So you can also look at this under Team Nutrition. This is actually a great tool if you want to make more dishes or more variety. You can go ahead and go through this, okay? Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.